Hello, my name is Katrín Oddsdóttir and I am a human rights lawyer in Iceland and a PhD student in a project called Democratic Constitutional Design. And it is, of course, a great honor to be allowed to tell you a little bit about what has been called the world's first crowdsourced constitution. This is a story about my home country up here in Iceland, where we have about 350,000 people and bad weather almost all the time. Now, let's start in the year 2008, where Iceland had a huge financial crash. It was, of course, a worldwide phenomena, but Iceland was sort of the canary in the mine. We went down first, and the whole world was watching what would happen in Iceland, presumably thinking that the same might happen everywhere else. In 2008, we had this intense mass protests where people gathered to the streets protesting against the government with their cutlery for weeks and months. And in the end, all the three main demands of the protests were met. And this huge awakening among the public has been described as a constitutional moment by scholars such as John Elster and others. So we are sort of in the realm of knowing that this is a moment where constitutional change might occur. Now, just very briefly to explain, Iceland is a colonial nation and we got our independence formally from Denmark in 1944. We then attempted to change our constitution, but we only translated the Danish one. But since then, we've never been able to. So when the crash came, finally there was this moment of trying to reshape our social contract. So in 2009, the first left-wing government was elected in Iceland, and they started the process, which was the new process for the Icelandic constitution. It started with a national assembly where 950 roughly randomly selected people met for a whole day and discussed the values which should underlie the new constitution. After that, a constitutional council was elected with 25 members, and the council had about 4 months to write the new constitution. But the unusual thing about this is the methodology. The Constitutional Council, and I was one of those 25, decided to be the change, if you want, and have transparency as its guiding light, thereby allowing the public to participate in making the constitution. And this is why it has been called the world's first crowdsourced constitution, because we were building on methodology that is often used in programming, which is called agile programming, and basically means that you test your program on the user along the way while designing the program. This, of course, we know, us lawyers, is not very common when it comes to making law. And my question is, why? Why don't we test the legislation more often on the users, being the citizens? But in this time, we tried to. So we opened the whole thing up. We published our draft constitution every week online, and we allowed for comments through Facebook and our websites and YouTube and so on. And we published all our big meetings also streamed online. So people could participate and did participate. And in the end, we also focused on reaching consensus, so we didn't have to vote each other down on specific matters. So that led to a unanimous decision of all the 25 members of the Constitutional Council in regards to the new constitution. This new draft includes all sorts of things that are necessary for a modern constitution. I won't go into them all in details now because we have little time, but I wanted to tell you what happened after that. So we handed the new constitution to our parliament, very hopeful back in 2011, thinking, okay, our job is done here. But what happened after that was a sort of a surprise. The parliament took a long time trying to assess the quality of the document, which of course is understandable. But it somehow didn't feel the rhythm in actually executing the matter and taking it to the parliamentary discussion. So instead, they decided to have a national referendum, a non-binding referendum, back in 2012. And in that referendum, which had about 50% turnout, 2/3 of the voters said, yes, I want this new constitution to be the basis for the new Icelandic constitution. Now, you would think that 10 years later, today, we would have this new constitution, but we do not. That's why Iceland is an excellent example of this sort of democratic paradox that we keep talking about in the theory of constitutional democracy and so on, where you have the constituent power, the people speaking out very clear and very loudly, but you have the elite democracy rejecting the change. Since this happened, we've had so many scandals here in Iceland that could have been prevented if we had the new constitution. So in my opinion, time slowly shows that this is a necessity. We have here behind me a picture of a wall that is part of the activism that has been going on ever since we had the new constitution. It's a big question that was painted next to the Ministry of Fisheries in Iceland, and it simply asks, where's the new constitution? Now, this didn't go down well with the authorities, so there was the wall the day after it was painted, and that created a huge uproar with the public, and the question has been painted in many other places since. And it doesn't disappear. How much you try to wash it away, it will not disappear. But I think my time has run out, so I hope I gave you a very, very, very brief introduction into this specific case up here in Iceland. And if you follow the case, you will eventually witness us getting this new constitution ratified. Thank you.